Zoe Cadman here to take you through the week that was on HRTV. Trainer Jim Cassidy discussed the Beaufort Stakes winner, the usual QT, on across the board.
The first time we went to pet him, where'd he go? I mean, he was back in the corner somewhere. So, it's just a matter of just patience. And the first time I run him, I knew he had a lot of talent. But
he was 72-1.
Well, yeah. Well, I'm not much into the gambling thing. And then the first time I ran him on the turf, Mike told me he was gawking around. He's looking. He didn't know what to do, and he finished. I don't know how fast he finished that race, but it was an incredible race. Originally, we were going to go to Florida and run on the grass, but Don and I have discussed it, and I think we're going to run here in the Classic on the dirt. We're eventually going to try him on the dirt, and it's as good a time to try him on the dirt as and then we'll go from there on. If he handles it, he did earlier on. He ran second a couple of times on the dirt, which was good. I worked him today on the dirt, and so I can't really give you a big long program because I don't usually do that anyway. But if he runs good on the dirt, then we'll maybe jump into the Stroop Series somewhere.
Do you see him maturing too as time goes on? Is he getting better and better?
No, I don't see any change at all. I mean, from the whole time, I see him looking better. I thought he lost a little weight for the Beaufort, so I backed off him just a tad. But I see him about the same, but his mind is better. But physically, he doesn't look any different.
Reserve seating for the Kentucky Derby and Oaks was sold online for the first time this year.
I'm just crafting the news release now. We sold out in 48 minutes.
Congratulations.
48 minutes, 3,000 tickets for the Kentucky Derby and Kentucky Oaks. And, the demand for the tickets was truly exceptional. And we're thrilled that, this new online approach on tickets.churchilldowns.com gave everyone a fair shot to purchase the highly coveted reserve seats. And we're appreciative of the level of support by the sports and horse racing fans around the world.
Any other changes going into this year's Derby and Oaks week that's always so spectacular to be a part of that we can anticipate and look forward to?
Gary, we will break that news when it's ready to be announced. But yeah, we always like to have a new twist each and every year. Last year we had the very successful Pink Out on Oaks Day, and the relationship with Susan G. Komen, and I think we want to extend that relationship, and you can see some growth and also some added twists on that day. And then the Derby itself is just a tremendous day in itself. But you can rest assured that we'll continue to make some changes in and out around the facility.
Paralyzed jockey Mike Strait called into Race Day America with great news about his recovery.
I was actually talking to my brother on the phone, and he's a jockey too. He's riding out of Tampa Bay, and I told him, one of these days I'm just going to get down on my walk, and then about, I'd say maybe 2 minutes, maybe a little less than that, I hung up with the phone with him. I looked down, and my toes were moving, not my foot, not my ankle, not my leg, which I have tons of spasms. It was just my toes that were moving back and forth. So, and I called my parents and my aunt, and they were all here, and I made them even look at it. So I had some witnesses, and they looked at it, and they could not believe it. It was just so exciting.
I'm sure you've made the doctors aware of what took place. What's their reaction to this?
Actually, I talked to my doctor down here in Florida, which I just moved to. I saw him once, and he just checked me out. They did a full body check on me, and I talked to him last night, and he could not believe it, and he said that it was a great first sign of recovery. So, I'm very excited about that too as well.
Jockey Mike Smith made the trip from California to Florida on Thursday, only to have a late scratch at the gate.
Well, Mike Smith's been very kind to join us on the phone, particularly after a frustrating journey, I'm sure, over to Gulfstream Park. Mike, it's Millie and Erin with you. I'm sorry that you had a frustrated trip.
Yeah, man, that was a bad luck trip.
What actually went on in the gate there, Mike?
It was the 9 horse. You know, we were the 8, of course, and he turned over in there and got turned around, and what he did was he kicked our horse underneath the gate, and he put a little laceration on his cannon bone. So, you know, the vet wanted to better be safe than sorry, and make sure you never know how hard they get kicked when they get kicked like that. So she had to scratch him.
Mike, we watched the replay earlier on in the show of him, and I know you started making the move going into the far turn, and it seemed like it wasn't until actually about an 1/8 of a mile out that he really got going. Was it more that the horses were coming back to you, or he really was accelerating?
Yeah, he really was accelerating. I mean, the wind was blowing really, really bad. I mean, it was tough to run into, actually, and he was running pretty green. I mean, he's still learning. But once I got him straightened out and got him over to his right lead down the lane and got after him a little bit, well, man, he made up some serious ground. So, like I said, I'd like to see how good he is, because right now we're starting to look for these good 3-year-olds, and I'm kind of hoping to find out a little bit from the day, but we'll just have to wait for another day.
Adena Springs General Manager Eric Hamelback talks about their upcoming Stallion Open House.
The first horse that is brand new, Tiago, is very exciting coming here to us, being, of course, the half-brother to Giacomo, the Kentucky Derby winner, who also stands here. We're very excited to have him, Santa Anita Derby winner, great bloodlines with Pleasant Tap. We are extremely happy to have him. In addition to Tiago, of course, we have relocated some stallions here. Two, to me, most prominent horses being Wilco and Showing Up. So, again, people will get to see them here in Kentucky for the first time. Our first portion of the open house will be Saturday. From 4 o'clock until 8 o'clock, we'll have an open house with drinks and food, and our official stallion presentation will be at 5 p.m. Weather permitting, we certainly assume that it's going to be held inside in the viewing showing area right behind the office. The outdoor show ring, I think, is going to be a little snowed over, but the dinner and everything will be going on until at least 8 p.m. We'll have a great time. And then on Sunday from 10 o'clock till 3 o'clock, we'll just have a free open house. Anyone who is in town for the sales, free to come out here and visit with our stallion manager, Bill Drury, and all the stallions are here and ready for inspection.
Bernie Sams called into race day to preview Claiborne Farms' newest sires for 2010.
Arch and Pulp, but hopefully they'll continue to do as well as they've done with a horse like Blame. I mean, it'll put Arch in the forefront, as it does with a lot of horses when they have a top runner like that.
Pulpit has been, noted for having the hot temper and maybe producing it onto his offspring. But with hot temper sometimes comes precocity and talent. What have you noted most about the Pulpits?
I guess probably the most noted with them is they run 2, 3, 4, dirt, turf, long, short, and he can get a good sale horse. I mean, he does about everything you'd want a stallion to do, it seems like. They're very versatile.
Those are the horses that everybody kind of knows about, but let's maybe shift the focus towards some of the new things that are happening with Claiborne Farm. First, Samurai has been a new horse for you, and his 2-year-olds will hit the track this year. Why don't you talk about him a little bit?
The reports are good. I know now Brennan in Florida's got a couple down there that he likes quite a bit. They sold very well as yearlings in a market that might not have been the best. So, he's gotten quite a bit of play this spring, and, would be one of the horses that's pretty well on his way to being full probably before the shed's open.
Bernie, I've got to ask you about your newest horse, Parading. It was a horse that spent a little time in my barn training up to the Goodwood Stakes here at Oak Tree last year for Shug McGahee. It's a beautiful horse. Why don't you try and sell people on him a little bit?
For $3,500, you can't find a better bred horse in the stallion book, probably.
And Parading being out of On Parade is a full sister to Storm Flag Flying. I understand you raised them parading at Claiborne.
Correct. And like I say, I mean, so far so good as far as the response. He's been here about 3 weeks, and we've just gotten the advertising started on him, and the phone's been ringing. So I'm very pleased.
Lane's End, Bill Farish previews their lineup of stallions for 2010 on Race Day America.
Baseball team, you're constantly having to one up, looking for new talent. And at least for my money, when I think of new talent the last couple of years, Candy Ride joining your operation really is a huge coup.
It really was and is. It's great to have him. It certainly, in this case, wasn't a lot of doing on our part. The owners just decided they wanted to move him, and we were certainly happy to have him, and he's off to a tremendous start at stud, and we doubled his stud fee this year, and he's already full. So it just speaks to his popularity as a stallion.
We would be remiss if we don't bring up a horse that I know was on the hearts of a lot of people for several years, and that's Curlin. How is Curlin doing, and what do you expect for 2010 with Curlin?
Well, Curlin's doing great. He's off to a super start. Had a great book of mares last year, and he's booking up very nicely this year again. And he, like a lot of stallions on our roster and across the state, has experienced a little downward shift in his stud fee, which always helps. And he's one of those horses that really most people come to see. It's a stallion show. A lot of fans come to see Curlin, and it's fun to show him off, and he just looks spectacular.
WinStar's racing manager Elliot Walden fills us in on their group of promising 3-year-old Derby prospects.
Rule, American Lion, Super Saver, and Drosselmeyer. Just some of the names you'll want to familiarize yourself as we march towards Derby 135. And guess what? They're all owned by the WinStar Farms. What was the reason in terms of American Lion and why, after running so impressive in the preview, you guys decided to bypass the Hollywood Futurity?
You know, looking at Lucky and Noble's Promise were two horses that were going to show up in the Futurity, and we felt like that he wasn't quite ready to handle those two who had won grade ones around 2 turns, and he hadn't run around 2 turns yet, so we felt like we'd better on taking him on in March or April than in December. So we felt like we'd give him time to grow up and rev him back up to hopefully have a Derby run.
Well, let's get to Super Saver. He could not have been any more impressive. This is the Kentucky Jockey Club at Churchill Downs, the preview of the future stars of tomorrow. And Elliot, he shatters a track record that had stood for decades.
Well, he did, and you know, he that race had been run over 100 years, and for him to beat the stakes record like that is really impressive. And so he's out. His mother is a full sister to the Dam of Bluegrass Cat, who was second
in the Derby.
Right. So we're real excited about his prospects to be able to go 1.25 miles. He's also bred along the lines of wait a while.
Rule, on the other hand, I don't know that he is getting quite the credit he deserves because of where he won this race. But he was so impressive in the Delta Jackpot in the slot and showing a lot of moxie inside the final 16.
Well, you know, the horse that ran with him was a 2-year-old that ran the fastest buyer of the year.
That's right.
For 2-year-olds. So we were excited about this. We sent him down there for the prep for the Delta Jackpot, and we did that to try to get a stakes win out of him so that we could then see if we were good enough to come back in the jackpot. It's the mare's first foal. The mare, in fact, Rockside, is a full sister to Funnyside.
Right.
So we feel like he'll get 1.25 miles. So we're just blessed.
Jockey agent Ron Anderson looks back on a great year with the nation's leading money earner, Garrett Gomez.
We have a major event coming up here on the road to the Big Cap, the San Pasquale, and Furthest Land, who was the upset winner of the Breeders' Cup Dirt Mile. Garrett Gomez takes the call. Your thoughts going into this mile and a 16th event?
I mean, obviously he's the Breeders' Cup champion at a mile. I don't really see a horse in here that probably even outrun him, I don't think. We ended up in a good spot. I guess Julian opted to ride somewhere else, and obviously this was an option on Breeders' Cup Day, but I ended up riding a Godolphin horse that, Baffert used to have that I won the year before.
Midshipman.
Right. And
he ran well.
He ran super.
Right. Was the Breeders' Cup Dirt, was it for real? Was that a real performance, or are you worried at all that it may have been a little fluky?
His poly-track races are all good. I think he's undefeated. He ran great at Turfway the day that I went in there and won on him. I think he's the horse to beat.
And has Mike Maker talked to you about how well he's been training down at Gulfstream? Was there much communication that way?
Not a whole lot, because Mike, if you look up my percentage with Mike Maker the last couple of years, I think it's like 80%. When he's called for Garrett, no matter where we are, they all win. I'm not kidding. It's been phenomenal.
Jay Privman shared his thoughts on the upcoming Eclipse Awards.
I've been a voter for more than 20 years, and it's always a challenging thing to do because you've got tough choices to make every year in a lot of different categories, and this year was no exception.
No exception at all, especially in the top category, Horse of the Year. Let's just get right to it and talk about Zenyatta and Rachel Alexandra. What criteria outweighs the other in this situation?
To me, it was an impossible choice between the two because they both had, to me, Horse of the Year style campaigns. They were completely apples and oranges campaigns, and I've been kind of bemused by some of the passionate rhetoric going back and forth of like, well, it's got to be Zenyatta or it's got to be Rachel Alexandra among their various supporters, and I just don't see how you can be so dogmatic over one or the other. To me, it was an impossible choice.
Let me ask you an outside-of-the-box way of thinking about this argument, if you don't mind. There was an AP vote for Female Athlete of the Year.
Right.
And Zenyatta got a lot of votes in that, finished second to Serena Williams.
Correct.
And my understanding was Rachel Alexandra didn't really receive it.
She was ninth.
It was ninth in the voting.
So 2 of the top 9 AP athletes were horses.
Which is really great, but there was a disparity there. Do you interpret that as Zenyatta's efforts maybe transcending the scope of the horse racing world, whereas Rachel Alexandra's maybe didn't touch so many people's outside of horse racing?
I think that could be an aspect of it, Gary, but I've been around long enough to think that a more overriding aspect of it was who did it more recently. And Zenyatta made the last and most impressive impact, whereas if Rachel's Woodward or Preakness had been last week or the week before that vote, then maybe she would have gotten more votes. I think that enters a lot into it, especially when people always say, oh, that was the greatest game or the greatest race I've ever seen. They're like, well, really? Have you seen something that happened 50 years ago? Do you have a good point of reference? And so I think that, not to discredit what Zenyatta did, obviously, I'm just saying I think that enters into it as like it was more recent.
On Against the Odds, Jeff comes up with the longest play winner of the new year in the old hat.
You really want a blowout horse? How about the undefeated Richie Girl Gone Wild? Undefeated in 2 starts, first time Lasix, one at Arlington, one at Charlestown. I don't know how good she is.
I don't either.
But she's worth 20 to 1. Throw her in.
Richie Girl Gone Wild trying to keep the lead here. It's a 2-length lead coming to the 8th pole. Criolla Bonita to the inside. Then it's Joni's Catch. Cuff Me is back to 4th and in tight quarters as they come down to the wire. It's going to be Richie Girl Gone Wild in a shocker.
Claiborne Stakes Showcase goes to Richie Girl Gone Wild. Larry Ravelli, a couple of Chicago boys in Chicago weather, winning a grade 3. You were high on this filly. Were there anxious moments during this race thinking that maybe somebody was going to come from off the pace?
Well, the only anxious moment was when she opened up at 99 to 1. I said, well, geez, maybe we're not in the right race here. But I thought she'd run good. I didn't know if she was good enough to beat these type, and maybe the off track gave her a little bit of advantage versus, Dutro's horse or somebody else's horse not showing up. But she did what I thought she might do.
You said yesterday that you wanted to bring Tim Thornton down because he knew this filly so well. He had the biggest smile I've ever seen on his face. What did he say after the race?
Timmy's a good kid. I like him a lot. He's been on the filly, every time she's ever worked, every race she's ever run. So she's undefeated. So why change? I'm happy for him too. He's a good rider and a good kid.
We knew she could ship around. I knew she was a nice filly. Going in, the race looked tough, but we knew that she's been working really good. She shipped around. She's really professional. So we came in. They brought her down a couple weeks early, let her get used to the track and acclimated and stuff, and really turned out well.
Now you flew in today, your first win at Gulfstream ever. How does it feel?
Oh, it's great. It's wonderful. You know, my dad got to be here, like you were saying. He's a blacksmith, so he was over at Hialeah. You know, he works a lot, so I don't get to see a whole much. But it was great. He was able to get here today, and it was wonderful. First time at Gulfstream and winning on a long shot.
Nico Bay gets his first graded stakes win for owner Jerry Moss and trainer John Sheriffs.
5 off them. At the top of the lane, Goldsville desperate to hold on. Furthest land up alongside Bold Chieftain. Nico Bay, one from the outside. Spurrier Extreme outside. Now gets a good run. Here's now coming through on the inside. Nico Bay, Spurrier on the outside. What a horse race this is. Wide open, Nico Bay. Nico Bay's pulling to your late. And Nico Bay's going to win it. Nico Bay, powerful final six.
Nico Bay finally gets that graded stakes win. How important was that for you today?
You know, we've been waiting a long time for this, and we're just so elated that he did it today.
Jerry, you actually bred the mare, very important for you in this respect, and you bought and campaigned her, now producing the graded stakes winner, Nico Bay. How proud of you are of him?
Oh, it's fantastic. You know, I mean, to breed a graded stakes winner, and he's come so close, and now to finally win one as decisively as he won today was really exciting to watch. Really something.
On the edge, Aaron and Joanne picked 4 winners for Saturday's Santa Anita Pick 6.
It was a difficult race to start things.
Well, as I mentioned, it's party time, and that's the horse that I had to kind of hone in on in here.
Time goes on, chased by Flashy Traveller, but it's party time coming home to win. It's party time, won it.
I like the 7 St. Trinians anyway. It's a horse for Mike Mitchell that really looks to be getting good.
Clear down the center of the track, My Baby now coming home with a nice run. Has a lot of ground to make up on St. Trinians though, and a scintillating performance today by St. Trinians gives Joel Rosario his third. They absolutely romp.
El Mirage King at first glance looks like a horse who made the debut, ran an even race, 7th beat in 4 lengths, but that was a pretty good race, and a couple of horses have already come out of that race and run well in their next starts.
Extreme outside, El Mirage King, Mr. Do It finishing gamely as well, and also Curo in there, wide open. Fabio, El Mirage King burst to the front. El Mirage King will win it. El Mirage King has won it. Fabio was second.
So I think they'll get a better trip this time sitting off of it. The 6 pounds alone could make a difference in the finish. I'm putting Nico Bay on top.
5 off them. At the top of the lane, Goldsville desperate to hold on. Furthest land up alongside Bold Chieftain. Nico Bay, one from the outside. Spurrier Extreme outside. Now gets a good run. Here's now coming through on the inside. Nico Bay, Spurrier on the outside. What a horse race this is. Wide open, Nico Bay. Nico Bay's pulling to your late, and Nico Bay's going to win it. Nico Bay, powerful.
In the Against the Odds web bonus, Aaron takes one home in the spectacular bid.
Wildcat Frankie, by the way, the most overbet angle, a romping maiden winner thrown into a stakes race in their second lifetime start.
I fell into a hook, line, and sinker, didn't I?
Little Warm is drawn outside, and he finally figured it out last time out. He's going to get a ton of pace to chase. Watch out for a Little Warm for a sharp
But he only won by 10 3/4.
Only by 10
My horse won by 15 1/2.
And on the far outside, a Little Warm is coming on. Top of the stretch, Wildcat Frankie off the turn in front. A Little Warm on the far outside. Some champ between those two. Discreetly Mined, 4th down on the inside and laboring as they come into the final 16th. It is Wildcat Frankie and a Little Warm. A Little Warm takes the lead, and a Little Warm and Jeremy Rose win the spectacular bid.
That's it for this week on HRTV. Here's what's coming up next week.